with Intention, podcast where we bring you stories from around the globe. And today I have yet another beautiful guest with me, Karen Sarmento. Welcome, dear. How are you today?
Hello, I am fantastic. I'm excited to be here.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
so
having me.
much. Thank you so much for being with us here today. And Karen, please tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and what you do and where you're from, of course.
Sure. I am from Massachusetts right now. So I am a success strategist and mindset mentor for women. I have been doing this unofficially probably for about 5 or 6 years. But about a year and a half ago, I opened my own company, Sarmento Mentoring Service, so I could really dive in and start doing what I love, which is helping other women show up as the best version of themselves, no matter where they are in life right now, no matter where they've come from, what they've been through, recognizing that you're not defined by that. But I, by trade, have been a nurse practitioner in cardiology for the last 20 years.
Wow.
And I know, and I loved the work, I loved the patients, but my true passion, honestly, was calling me to focus on what I'm doing right now, which is mentoring women. So I ended up leaving that practice about officially 1 month ago and coaching full time, which I am absolutely loving. And like you, I have my podcast called We Are Meant for More. So the combination of the two, that's what I am doing full time and loving it.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So let's dig into it a little bit deeper. So what truly inspired you to transition into helping high achieving? Because both fields are so important. What
Mhm.
was it? Like, was it something specific that happened, or it was just you just followed your calling?
Yeah. It was definitely learning to listen to my inner voice and my calling. To be honest, I think caring for other people is my calling because I always knew I wanted to be a nurse and ever since I was small. So caring for other people, I think, is my calling. But as time went on, and I think two things were happening, the medical field was changing. So I didn't feel like I was able to be as impactful in that role anymore. Visits were shorter, just the medical care and the whole model in medicine was changing. So it wasn't resonating with me as much. But as that was happening as well, I was diving into personal development in my own life. The last 11 plus years, there's been a lot of things in my personal life. My husband passed away.
Oh, I'm
Um,
sorry to hear that.
very unexpectedly. So I went through a really dark phase in my life, and that opened my eyes to the fact that something in your own life can really make you feel small. It can really take you off your feet. And when you feel small, you just don't show up. You don't show up for yourself. You don't show up for the people that matter. And I remember at the time, I felt like there was no way out. Like, this is my new destiny. I'm small, it's dark, and this is where I'm going to stay. And I think because you're feeling so defeated and defined by certain things, I think you just stop growing. And that's where I met personal development and found my way out. And that's, I think, what grew my passion for wanting others to see the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and sometimes you have to go through things because how else are you gonna know where you're truly supposed to get guided? And sometimes when one door closes, another one opens. But we have to be willing to walk through that new door. And I've had a few shifts in my life like that. So, I can definitely relate to that in some way. Um, but the rewards can be like really truly magnificent, when you let yourself truly shine and we can help and we don't have to stay in that same spot all our life because we also change. So how we want to change sometimes, you exceed in certain area and you move to something different where you can shine just as much or even better, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Yes.
you often also speak about women, because I've read quite a bit about women feeling confined by others' expectations. What are some subtle signs that women might be living out of alignment with their true purpose?
That's such a good question. So if you actually take a moment, sometimes as a society, but I'm gearing mostly towards women when I say this, we're so just on the move, go, 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 that we don't even really stop to be aware of what we're doing, why we're doing it. So when you really stop to think about certain things that you do, what fuels you versus what drains you. And when a lot of the things you're doing drain you, typically you're doing it out of obligation or what's expected versus what really is your passion or what really fuels you. I think so. That's a huge indicator um, when it feels good on the inside. And oftentimes we do things that are just obligatory and what we're expected. And it just leaves us feeling drained and almost resentful of what we're doing.
Mm,
So I think that's the biggest indicator, just the way it makes you feel when you're doing whatever it is you're doing.
yeah. Um, yeah, like those dreadful 9 to 5 jobs that a lot of us do because we have to, but we're not really sparked by it. We just like do it because we have to, because it has to pay the bills, right? So
Hmm.
yeah. I know that feeling. I went through that too a few years ago. And sometimes that's when you have to really sit down and reflect. So you mentioned that many women feel the need to prove their worth. What are some of the biggest mindset blocks you see in the high achieving women you work with?
That they get all their validation from external things, accolades, job titles, degrees. And I was living proof of that. It was like, I'll get another degree. I'll get my bachelor's. Oh, let me get my master's. Let me get a certification. Let me get another certification. And always looking for the pat on the back from someone else. And really, it has to come from within because that's where we truly get our ability to be authentic and shine. But high achieving women, it's always looking for the next source of I'm good enough. I'm okay because I did that or I got that, or it's always the outside source that we're looking for.
Yeah, that's so true. With
Mm.
over 2 decades in healthcare, how has your understanding of the mind-body connection shaped your current coaching approach?
Yes, I love that. I think of the my approach to coaching definitely science meets spirituality because there is such a science behind manifestation and how our thoughts become things and how the brain can actually be rewired. So I think my love of science and the medical field, which I always loved and still do, I think it's fascinating. The human body is fascinating. But actually knowing that you can rewire your brain is just, it's that physical scientific proof that it's possible and that the mindset work, the spiritual piece of it, that there's more to it than just us and that your mind really does drive what the body carries out. And you bring that together. It's powerful, really powerful work.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really good to get into some fields and study them further. Like I went into personal development for personal reasons.
Yeah.
And then there was other things. And then all of a sudden I stepped into neuroscience with Dr. Joe Dispenza. And I was like, wow, I actually understand a lot of these things. Because if you gave me that book maybe 10 years ago, the same book, I would be like, okay, what is it talking about here? I don't get it. But it's funny how, get to a certain level, you start understanding, our mind, our bodies more, how everything works, and it's amazing. We just have to give it time and actually be open-minded. I always like I have my own book club too that I have, and Some people's like, oh, we're reading that book. I said, look, the way I look at it, you can read, many books. Take what you
Mhm.
want and read the leave the rest, because not everybody's gonna resonate with the whole book. I got books that I read that only resonated with half. There was something I really needed to learn from it. I took that and I left the rest out because, it's not gonna drive everybody the same way. What you need out of the book is different than what I need, right? And your awareness also changes. So maybe this year you read this book, next year is like, wow, I missed all that when I read it first time. Your awareness has changed, right? So I
Right.
love studying. Like I kind of became addicted to studying all these things over the last few years. I've read more books in the last 5 years than I think my entire life.
Same. No, guilty,
Yeah.
guilty. And what you said is so spot on. When you read that same book, even maybe a year later, you're a different person. You see different things. Like, I don't even remember that in this book. Like, whoops, I don't even remember it. So
Yeah.
totally different. I
Yeah,
love it.
even Kathleen Cameron's Millionaire program. I think we went through that program like 3 times as a group already.
Uh-huh.
And every time I was like, oh, I really didn't hear that the first time or the second time. Now it's popping up at me like there's no tomorrow, right? So you
Yeah.
see your growth and you get excited and then you know it's working and you just keep going with it, right?
Yes. And then the more you welcome that other version or welcome new information, speaking of Dr. Dispenza, neuroplasticity, you are actually rewiring your brain so that you're creating new neural pathways. So it's fascinating that you can do that.
Exactly. And sometimes you sit there and you think there's just no hope, right? Because I know some of my students, like they just sit there and say, there's just no hope. Say there is hope. There's hope for anything. You just have to, pick yourself up and start again, don't give up. And they're like, really? It's like, yeah, just learn, teach yourself more, go out there, be inquisitive, like learn something new. Don't give up just because you see
Mhm.
no solution right now. And I say that now, but believe me, there was times in my youth I thought there was no way out, but boy, I was wrong.
Right?
There's always a way out. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
now I want to get deeper
yeah.
into your stories. Can you share a story or example where one of your clients turned a personal struggle into a powerful source of strength?
Absolutely. So I can think of someone who was drinking heavily, and it was life situations. It was a way of masking that, anesthetizing that, making the worries, everything go away. And when she actually realized, being aware of why you're drinking, why you're doing what you're doing, and making the decision to change that and realizing one little step in a different direction changes the whole trajectory. It just takes that one decision and then the next decision, and they can be small steps and small decisions. And that's exactly what she did. And also through identity work. So, not identifying herself as a drinker and starting to identify with herself as a healthy individual with healthy coping mechanisms. And little by little, the confidence starts to come back and the identity does start to change.
Mhm.
So I think seeing that and seeing in another woman what she doesn't see in herself, being able to kind of get them in that direction. But to me, that to see that was just amazing.
I love that. And
Yeah.
just as you were talking about those little steps, actually reminded me, the book that we went through, Atomic Habits. And it's like start those small steps, as long as you start and be consistent, it'll definitely start working for you. You can't just do something once and expect a total, makeover. Like, you can't go to the gym once and expect big muscles, right? Some things do need time, you have
Mhm.
to work at it. So that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So your podcast, We Are Meant for More, it
Yes.
sounds like a very empowering space. I'll have to look into it more. What inspired the title, and what message do you hope every listener takes away from your episodes?
my biggest measure, what inspired the title is because I always had that little whisper, that little inner voice that told me I was meant for more, more than what I was doing, more than how I was showing up. And I always kind of squashed it. And when you really listen to the voice, we are meant for more. And most of us get that subtle whisper. So my biggest hope and my biggest goal with starting the podcast was that women and would just listen to that inner voice and take little steps forward just to listen to that voice. When you get the feeling that you're meant for more, it's because you are. The message is meant for you. And I truly believe we all are meant for greatness. We're meant to do great things, not to just exist and go to a 9 to 5 that drains the energy out of us. And then we bring home our, I don't know, our leftovers to the people that matter. And when I really started to listen to that inner voice, I started showing up and doing more and being more. And that's my biggest goal with the podcast. It's a lot of stories of people who did come back from a massive challenge or something that was once seen as something negative or really unpleasant. Nah, it's always something that is pushing you forward. It's meant to be your superpower.
Mm-hmm. It's funny you say that because I remember growing up and you're led by your parents or grandparents, whoever you were growing up with. But in my case, like, you go, you listen to what they tell you, but deep down, I always knew there was more to the things I was always. I'm not saying like, they did the best they could, they taught me things, but I always knew there was always more to something. I was always that inquisitive, like always wanted to, oh, are you sure about that? I want to learn more. Like I was always that step ahead. And that's why I loved exploring. If they said there was places to go here, I was like, yeah, but what's beyond that? Can I go over there? Can I go further? If they told me about one religion, I said, well, is there more? Okay, tell me more. Is there if there's a yoga, okay, well, that's one pose. Is there like something
Yeah.
else? So I always had that thing inside me. It's like, I know there's more. I was always like I would call it, I want to know more. I'm the truth seeker. And even if you told me one thing, I still wanted myself to learn more about it, to get more information. Whereas most people's like, oh, okay, that's blue. Okay, cool, that's blue. Me like, yeah, are you sure it's blue? I want to know more. Feel like I was always that one step ahead. And at some point, I was like, I think too much. Like, but it's good in a way because you get to learn about the world. You being, um, you know, we are definitely capable of so much more than we give ourselves credit to.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I always thought at the beginning was a downside, but I was like, no, maybe it's not at all. It's good to know more. We can never learn everything, but it's good to, dig deeper, be in more awareness, and if it helps me, and I learn from it, and then I can help somebody else too. So it spirals. It's a ripple effect, right? So
No, I agree. That growth mindset, I love it.
yeah. So I want to get into a little bit more about, the part where we are critics. So how do you guide clients to silence their inner critic and tune into what often that often quiet inner voice of wisdom? Like, do you have some techniques you like to share a little bit with us? Anything?
So first thing is it definitely takes an awareness. So we're usually just going through life. We don't think much about what we're doing. We don't think much about what we're thinking. So on top of all the subconscious beliefs that we don't even realize that are there, there's the ones that creep in every time we're going to do something. The little voice that creeps in and says, nah, I couldn't do that, or not me, that's for her, or even when somebody looks in the mirror, what's the first thing that you think about? It's catching all those negative thoughts that creep in that are doubting or putting yourself down, even in a joking manner. The subconscious doesn't know the difference between a joke or what's real, what's imagined. It has no idea. So, one of the first things is being aware, catching your thoughts. And really, if you say something negative when you're looking at yourself or thinking something negative, correcting it, cancel. Um, I am beautiful. But it's got to go to another level beyond just affirmations, because just saying something over and over again that you don't really believe doesn't work. There's got to be an emotional component with it, as well as some action along with it. So it's a matter of doing things differently too, showing up in a different way. Um, I do a lot of identity work. So really writing out your self-image. It starts with recognizing how you see yourself now, and then writing your self-image as the version of yourself who has the things that you want. Um, so how does she walk? How does she talk? How does she dress? And taking small steps towards showing up that way. Because when you start to show up differently, it kind of has a snowball effect and you start to feel different and then you do more different and then you feel different. So it kind of goes hand in hand, the thoughts and the act, taking action as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree 100%. And it's funny because I was sitting the other day and I was thinking about something. And recently I had a lot of things I was working through with recent passing of my father.
Mhm.
And then I sat there and all of a sudden I could feel the shifting. And before I started doing identity work and self-image, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, like it brought me back to like certain things, and it was great to see the contrast. But I was like, "Ooh, don't get pulled back to that certain area." And I did, but it was a great awareness to see how much I have grown. And I was like,
Wow.
"Well, thank you for that awareness. Wow, I have really shifted." And and I looked at things from a different point of view, but I love that it gave me that contrast to look at. And I was able to see, wow, the growth. And we there's different phases we go through as we grieve and heal and all that, but at the same time I was very grateful for all that new awareness I was going through. So it absolutely matters a lot, your identity, how you look at yourself and everything. So
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, the world will believe what you believe about yourself. So, how you see yourself, how you truly see yourself, and how you show up and how you feel on the inside, whatever that is, that's what the world will see. That's what you're putting out there. People feel it, they see it, and it doesn't change overnight, but with the no matter what the small steps are that you begin, it completely can change.
yeah. And then
Yeah.
people start reacting, like reaching out to you differently too. And you're like, oh, wow, things have shifted. So it's that
Mhm.
gentle things that you notice throughout the day too. But you gotta stay consistent because sometimes, when we go through sometimes difficult times or traumas or whatever, sometimes, like you're talking about, working with yourself, we gotta stay consistent. And because sometimes it takes our body to catch up, our mind and things like that. So giving yourself that grace. And, first turn it doesn't work out, a lot of people give up. Don't
Mhm.
keep going. So um getting close to our closing time here. So I'll ask you that one question. So the name of the podcast is Rise and Thrive Mornings with Intention. How important do you think it is to set intentions first thing in the morning?
Oh, I think it's so important. I think it's so important. There was a time when I would have woken up and it revolved around checking my email or what I had to do, what I had to do. And I go to bed already with my intentions for the morning of what I get to do, what I'm growing, what I'm building, like what's got me lit up. So I definitely think it's huge to start the day with intention. I like to start it with gratitude, all the things I'm thankful for. Even if you don't have time for a gratitude practice to write it out, in my head, I'm doing a gratitude practice. And then I think starting the day with intention is so important. I think it's the guidance, it's where we direct our energy towards something meaningful before we get carried off by something outside of us. It's all starts within with your own intentions. I think it's so important.
Oh, I love that. And
Yeah.
thank you so much for sharing that with us today. Honestly, I could sit with you here all day and talk. You have such a calming, you. And thank you so much for everything you shared. I have like 20 more questions for you, but perhaps we'll meet again on another podcast.
I have a
So thank you,
feeling we
everybody.
will.
Thank you so much for listening to us today. I hope you got some value, of course, out of our episode today. Karen, thank you so much for being here with me today. And I hope everybody has a beautiful day. Thank you. Bye bye.